Yes, you can start. Thank you.
Yes, good. And I welcome you all. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, to this session on circular sanitation economy, the cross-sectoral approaches to climate resilience. My name is Leandra Roller. I work for Aqua for All. At Aqua for All, we support entrepreneurship and business development. We're also partnered to Finish Mondial. This is why I'm here today, and I welcome you all. Looking forward to this session. And I'd like to ask my co-host, Nturi, to introduce himself.
Thank you, Andra. Thank you all. My name's Nturi James. I work for Finish Mondial Tanzania program. Welcome to this interesting session to join. Maybe I'll take you through the structure of this session. We shall have three main structure. One will be interview and a PowerPoint presentation, which will take about 15 minutes. Then we will go to panel discussion, where we are going to spend ample time to discuss about the 35 minutes of what is inspiring for this session. And then we'll be having a closeout section. So circular economy, sanitation economy, and cross-sector approach to climate resilience. So you're all welcome to this session. Thank you, Randra, and you can continue with the other part of the session.
I think we show a short video next. Or we jump the video?
Yes.
Or
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Leandra. We'll show the video a little bit further on this session.
Okay, thank you. Well, then let's set the scene for now. We'd like to have this as a rather interactive session, so you'll hear me and Nturi commenting every now and then. And we're also encouraging all the participants to really make use of the chat box. Let us know your questions, and we'll try to answer as many of them as possible. So the sanitation circular economy presents the opportunity to build resilience by strengthening local value chains to A, improve livelihoods, especially for women and youth, and B, to upcycle human and organic waste into renewable energy products. This session will share experiences and best practices driving systematic change forwards towards local circular sanitation economies for sustainability and increased impact. Tori, you want to tell us a bit about the objectives? No. Tori?
Leandra, I think Nturi is experiencing some sound issues. Maybe we can invite to the room Mr. Rajkumar.
Yes, let's do that. Let's hope Nturi comes back at some point. Yeah, then I'd like to invite Mr. Rajkumar, who's the lead of the Water and Energy for Food sub-project of Finish Mondial in India. Mr. Rajkumar, please welcome to the stage, and feel free to introduce yourself and give us a little idea of what you're doing. Cannot hear you, unfortunately.
We are not able to, it's not audible, Rajkumar.
Sorry. Greetings to everyone, and thanks, Leandra, for the introduction. And I should say Vanakkam in Tamil, because we come from the place of Tamil Nadu, Namaste, and it's greetings from Finish Mondial and Ardio Trust. We would like to just share with you a very humble experience of Ardio Trust and Finish Mondial in the whole sanitation sector. And I would like to start with just a small thing, saying that we will all agree that waste is not real waste, but it's really a wealth. And waste, when it is there is a segregation done, and it adds more value to waste, and also the combining of different waste gives a more valuable product, which is economically viable, as well as environmentally friendly and beneficial. So what did we do in the Nilgiris? The next slide, please. In Nilgiris, what we did is we worked very closely with a number of stakeholders, government, the financial institutions, and farmers, and various sanitation workers, and fecal sludge operators, like that. So many stakeholders, and exhibited that waste is real wealth. And for a farmer, mainly, if you look at dirt is not waste, but it is a resource for him. So that is what we had done under the circular economy and sanitation for agriculture. We focused mainly on agriculture as the link between the waste recycling and things. So since 2017, we had embarked on this innovative sanitation circular economy approach of recycling both black and gray water, I must say, and also the solid waste. And here is where we have looked at how best we could combine the waste and enable it to have a product which will increase food production. Mainly, we were focusing on the increasing food production with working with 3,500 plus farmers, and also thereby increasing their income and a better livelihood for the vegetable growing farmers. And the real thing what we hit upon was that we have introducing the co-compost, managing to bring life back to soil, I must say. So that's what we did. We saw a transition of the soil structure over a period of time, and as an immediate environmental and the environmental impact also, and also overall it is a better environment around these habitations where we were working with these farmers. The next slide, please. Now I would like to just present you with a very simple graphic description or depiction of the main sanitation circular economy, which has a high potential to build climate resilience. It also calls for a higher level of changes in policies and enforcement, and also in subsidies, and potentially an enabling environment with the good partnerships. That is what we have seen in our experience, because again, it's a joint action. Everyone has a part to play in this whole aspect. And here you can see that the various products which we are talking about is ultimately contributes to the building the climate resilience and through the sanitation circular economy. And the partnership and enabling environment play a very key role in giving us the correct crucial policy level interventions, as well as the finances which are required, and also partnerships which are very essential, like partnership with the labs and the research institutions, like what we have Dr. Manivan here from one of those research institutions. So the co-compost as a substitute for the chemical fertilizer is something which had been promoted, and it has been enabled to reduce the input costs of the farmers also simultaneously. The next slide, please. Based on the previous slide, which I just now was sharing with you, I would like to say that we have tried to quantify or measure the circular sanitation economy impacts on four major domains or categories. So one is on the sanitation and solid waste aspect, and then the financial capital, and then the farmers and the or we call them the clients, and the climate change aspect. And under the Finnish Mondial program, we came up with simple tools to measure and methods to measure and quantify various climatic change related impacts. For example, the carbon sequestration, nutrient recovery, and the greenhouse gas emission, the energy saved, and which is directly connected to climate change. It's mainly, these are from the recycling of the resources, where we have been able to see that these impacts have taken there. And the sanitation circular economy for agriculture is also linked with the climate resilience in the aspect of 90% of the co-compost adoption farmers have expressed that there has been an increase of 15%. This has also been brought out by two studies made by the under the Securing Water for Food program, a performance evaluation study which was made, and then also the technical report from the Indian Institute of Soil and Water Conservation. And you'll hear more about that from Dr. Manimanan. So that is, and we've also found that there has been 68% of farmers have also reported as an increase in financial capital, and also 70% of farmers in reduction of water usage as a result of the co-compost, enabling the soil to have the water retention capacity or the moisture retention capacity. So there again, what all these things are very interesting, because a lot of learnings have been from the farmers themselves, interacting with them. Like we always say, learn farming from the farmer and learn farm economics from the farmer's wife. So she is the better person to give us the beautiful economics of the whole farming operations. That is our experience. And let's have the next slide, please. Here we have been focusing also deliberately on women and youth, because if you see that in Nilgiris, what we find is that 68% of the women and youth are in agriculture sector. They play a very major role in the agriculture sector, and because that entire district itself is horticulture district with a lot of plantation crops as well as vegetables. And also when we worked with the sanitation or the recycling of the waste for the co-compost production, we found that 80% of the women, 80% of them were women in this sector, in the sanitation sector itself. So our concentration has been in looking at how best could we look at the empowering them most economically as well as socially. And also the challenging thing was to enable them to become entrepreneurs of business, both in sanitation as well as in agriculture. So agribusiness and also in the sanitation thing as a social enterprise, you know. And also thereby we were looking at how best we could impact upon their livelihoods, because again, what we feel is that for these workers, their main source of livelihood itself has been agriculture, as well as the work in the sanitation field. So unless we have better, we also looked at three major aspects there. One is health and safety, two is their better livelihood for them, and also security from the other aspects, like most of them did not have like insurance and other things. So This has been our experience in short, and I've tried to summarize something which we did over the past 4 years now, and I'll be very happy to answer any questions if you would like to, and any clarifications if you seek for. Thank you very much. Over to you, Leandra.
Thank you, Rajkumar. I think it was very impressive and very interesting. Maybe would you mind explaining a little bit who initiated the whole program, how it came together, who was actually interested in this? You said there's so many different stakeholders coming together. Who was the driving force here? And if you would have to repeat this, would you do something different?
Yes, definitely, because the different, definitely I'll answer that first, because there's a lot of learnings, you see, and if you don't learn and do things different, then you're not learning. So definitely a little more different in the sense, even much better, or try to do a little more. Okay, but the idea came from, I should say it came from the women folk themselves, because Audio Trust, we have been working with about almost about 6,000 self-help groups, or that is about 120,000 women in the villages, mainly involved in agriculture and agriculture labor. And there we found that one of the major hurdle was the lack of toilets. So the first thing was we launched on an individual household toilet building program, which we supported these women groups to access finances. And there the idea was in partnership with Waste. The entire thing came in there. So resources as well as ideas. And slowly, when we moved from there to the next level of what should we do with 68,000 toilets have been built, and the containment system, how do we further process this waste, human waste, more efficiently? Then it came the thanks to the Securing Water for Food program, which supported us. We moved into converting or recycling that waste for a better thing, and then brought this whole thing of the circular economy and sanitation for agriculture. So that was the link like that. So there's a lot of, and I must say here, the government of Tamil Nadu, or the local government, has been giving us excellent support. Yeah. Thank
you. That is great. Thanks for explaining it a bit. Tori, do you have any questions? Is Tori back? He was back.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the very good presentation. In terms of food production, increase in food production and the financial capital, what do you say on this from your presentation? We know that there is a need of knowledge change financially by women farmers. Do they know more now about this food production and climate change and the financial capitals?
The first thing which I must say is that we have been affected by the climate change effect in Nilgiris, in the sense that there has been a drastic, Dr. Manivanan will be more able to give you a better picture on what type of change that, in the climatic conditions in Nilgiris has happened over the past few decades. But as I earlier said, the working with the self-help group, the women, we found that building their capacities will enable them to do much more and much more. So more value addition in terms of their agriculture, more value addition, the skills through the women's group for value addition in agriculture, value addition in even the group of women working in the sanitation, more of value addition, and then also providing them with opportunities for reducing their drudgery, and also enabling them to have better, safer environment. So The climate change, I think understanding has been there by the farmers, but we were able to say how can we contribute to something which can also help them to mitigate the climate change effect. Yeah, so that's how we're looking at it. Yes.
Can I add for you regarding
Yes,
supporting
Dr.
the climate change?
Sure,
Yeah.
I think we were going to ask you anyways, but please go ahead.
Yeah. This in the Nilgiris in the recent days, we found that by an average, the temperature is increased to 1.3 to 1.5 degrees from January to December. The extreme events are very high. The number of rainy days have been reduced from 122 to 65 now. It was half of the rainy days. And the per day maximum intensity of rainfall has gone up to 800 mm in some locations, from 200 to 400 mm normally. Now it is increased to the per day rainfall to 400 to 800 mm. So the maximum, the runoff could not be able to store or captured by the farmers or in the dams or the individual fields. They are remaining long-term dry spells. The wet spell is very short period for 4 to 5 days, and 25 to 30 days they are facing the problems. Due to that, there is the lots of the waterborne diseases, soil and waterborne diseases are taking place, which is affect the crop growth, and particularly the tuber crops like you may be knowing about the potato, carrot. These are the below-rooted crops, which is mostly affected by the soil-borne diseases. So that application of this conversion of the compost system or shifting towards the farming system towards the organic nature may helpful to reduce the infection due to this infection due to the soil-borne diseases. So this is one of the aspects which this can be indirectly contribute, that whatever it is. Just regarding this climate change impact due to the dry spells, even the yield reductions also been observed, particularly for the vegetable production in the Nilgiris. There is the drastic yield reductions. So the application of the high rate of the fertilizers in time, it is increased the diseases, that the crop-based diseases. So the main aim is that in the Nilgiri, what the government is trying to do is to reduce the inorganic chemicals, inorganic fertilizers, and go for increased amount of the organic. This is the one of the substitute for that purpose, that co-compost. In addition to the, you know that basically livestock is the main source for the organic fertilizers in India. This is the additional source. And another thing I would like to highlight is that previously these wastes are being dissolved or mixed with the water bodies. This is one of the things we can come back from the indirectly contribute in the clean India. That is also, otherwise these all kind of physical sludges has been taken away by the tractors or the lorries, and it is dissolved in the water bodies. It's also polluting the environmental aspects. That's what I would like to, at time being, that again I can answer based on your questions.
Thank you very much. That was, I think, a good preview. We'll come back to this in the panel discussion again. I hear we have a short video that we can play. Maybe Lauren, if you do that. Or not. Let's wait for some 10 more seconds, and I think otherwise let's move on to the panel discussion.
Yes, I don't see it. Small technical issue, it's disappeared. Sorry about that. I'll drop the link and we can watch it together.
Yeah,
later.
that's okay. That's okay. Otherwise, maybe it comes back later. Then I suggest that we just move on to our next very interesting point of the session, which is the panel discussion. Turi, would you do me the honor and introduce our panelists?
Sure, Andrew. So we are moving to the panel discussion, and I would like to introduce our panelists. We're gonna have Dr. S.C. Manivan from India Institute of Soil and Water Conservation from the Government of India. We shall have Abhishek from Finnish Society in India. We are going to have Cecilia from Caritas Fort Portal, Hewasa. We shall also have Meghna, who is coming from Metameta, and we shall also be having Lendra, who is the co-facilitator. She's coming from Aqua for All. So I welcome you for the discussion, and the floor is yours. Please welcome. We have quite ample time, almost 35 minutes for discussion. Elandra.
Yes, thank you, and welcome all also from my side. As you can see here on the panel, we also have Sumit from Waste, who potentially will also join our discussion. Welcome also to you, Sumit. Let's start with maybe a question from the audience. Carolina, Lauren, are you watching what the audience
Yes, we have a question from the audience, Leandra. Good morning, everyone. And the question is to Mr. Rajkumar. As well as carbon sequestration benefit, is there any evidence that these practices will reduce methane emissions? If so, there could be a double benefit for climate, which could justify additional climate funding.
Actually, the aspect of looking at the greenhouse gas emission as a result of recycling of waste has been a very recent effort from our side, I must say. And as I mentioned in my thing, we have just based it on very simple tools and calculations. We are right now looking at more of also combining various waste like the farmyard manure and also the waste from the mushroom units around in our place. So we still have to look at exactly the methane emission reduction aspect, but overall we have been looking at mainly the carbon emission reduction and the energy saved from the co-compost and the wet waste from the wet waste, as well as the fecal sludge, which we are recycling.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I'd like to link this to a question to Mr. Manivannan. You were already talking about the extreme changes that you can see from climate change. Can you observe, I think Mr. Rajkumar earlier mentioned additional environmental benefits that can be observed where compost is applied. Maybe would you like to talk a bit about those additional benefits and where you see, if you already see that these have a positive impact on the environment?
Yeah. See, there's if you can see that the project which is presented there, it can directly or indirectly benefit many aspects of the environmental. It can address the many issues of the environmental issues. The first point is the disposal, which is that naturally taking place in the open space, can be controlled. If it is a free process. If it without treatment, if it is moved here and there, if they are deposited there, these sludges, physical sludges are mixed with the water streams, drainage lines, So one aspect, the water quality has been reduced. The second aspect is that reduced fertilizers is one of the aspects. That's the environmental aspects, which I can say the reduced fertilizer rates. The many people highlighted as per any studies also, they have some extent 30%, 20%, 40%, or some extent up to 50%. It is application of the nitrogen and phosphorus has been reduced due to this application of. This is one of the good symbol, we can say, good sign that the farmers are moving towards the application of the organic fertilizers or co-compost, whatever it is, instead of, if the by and large, if you are reducing the inorganic fertilizer, that itself the second positive aspects towards moving the organic agriculture or natural agriculture, which were the second aspects, we can say that one. Third aspect is that in the environmentally, the emission rates, it is being reduced. You can say that carbon emissions, when if you apply that carbon sequestration process also, if you see that storage or recycling, the most of the times when if you go for the inorganic compounds or inorganic materials, that's we found that there was a stock or storages. But whereas in these processes, we found that maximum amount is being reused. It is recycled. That's not been the stored. So the emission rates also being, by and large, there is the possibilities to reduce it. The studies are going there, but still we may have to the more time to confirm it that the carbon emissions, the processes and the environmental aspect is though it is indirectly again. It is benefiting the global warming conditions directly, indirectly. If it is a smaller scale, if you go think on the larger scale applications, it may be benefit on that aspects also. But the economical aspects also, that if you keep that the environment and the economical, we cannot separate it, because the environments of the farmers, it is being social, culture, social environment is being also been affected with the economy. So many are says that there is the huge improvement or increase in the yield also. So these are the positive aspects, and which can be directly the environmental aspects can be benefited.
That is great. What I hear is, yeah, circular economy is radiating to the wider environment. It's beautiful to hear. I guess there's probably also some impacts that we might not even be aware of yet, that are still gonna show over the long run. Very interesting. Turi, do you have any questions to our panelists?
Thank you very much. I have a question to Lindra around the business and the financial viability and innovations. It's that so far it is still challenging to make circular sanitation solutions free from a business perspectives. How do you say about this? What do your recommendation on the challenging that is facing the circular sanitation solutions to business perspectives? Landra, can you say something on this business and the financial viability on circular sanitation?
Yeah, thanks for also asking me on this. Yeah, so at Aquafro, as I mentioned before, we work a lot on identifying business models in the sanitation economy. Now, if we talk circular economy, then mostly you have a reused product like compost, for example, that you can sell. But in a lot of other sanitation businesses, that might not be the case. And even if you have this type of reused product, the likelihood that this will actually sustain your whole operations is a big challenge that we see. So what we understand is sanitation has a huge overall benefit to the society, but those benefits to the society, they're not turned into monetary compensation. So sanitation businesses have this challenge of we need to find those ingredients to make a business model from it, which is arguably maybe a perception that we might want to question. but yeah, so far that's what we're working with. So we're trying to see where can we get additional revenue streams. Now at Aqua for All, we're always also looking for new ways of financing. So one thing that we're doing at the moment is also looking into carbon finance for sanitation. As we hear, there is a tremendous potential to reduce emissions from the sanitation sector if you work with the right type of technologies, if you consider the entire value chain. So we're starting a pilot on this for container-based sanitation, which is very interesting, and I'm curious to see how the process goes, and hopefully we'll be able to present it next year here.
Thank you. So Lendra, can the finance viability of sanitation enterprise be improved with climate finance? For example, carbon credit, through carbon credit. Do you think so?
So I think it's definitely a possibility. One of the issues with the carbon credits is that you need to be able to observe and measure the entire product cycle. So in case of sanitation, that's really the entire value chain, which is why we're taking a first attempt with the container-based sanitation, where it's easier to say, okay, this is the initial, this is how the transport works, this is the treatment. So it's easy to quantify the emissions that come from the system. But at the same time, what we'll have to do is also look at the baseline. So what is the level of emissions if no intervention happens? So what is the emissions from the latrines, but also from the waste treatment and the transport in between? So yeah, we're curious to see if we can also find operations that operate at the scale, because carbon finance, one other issue is they require quite a substantial scale to be able to certify an operation. So we're testing the ground, hoping to get some good baseline data that can also be used by the rest of the sanitation sector. Yeah, curious myself on how that process will go.
Yeah, thank you, Landra. That was round one of the discussion. Maybe from the panelists, somebody may have something to add before going to the second round discussions from the team. If anybody has anything wanted to add on the first round discussion, please welcome. The floor is yours.
Can I?
Welcome.
Yeah. Just I would like to say a few words. Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, please. The main circular, the many understanding of the circular economy, how it has been talking more about in the pictures. It is there now. The conferences are going there. The many people are talking about the circular economy. Just I would like to add it there. This circular economy concept is one of the process where it can directly benefit fulfill the sustainable development goals in many aspects that people has to mind it in the global level. It can contribute for SDG 2 also, the eat hunger, the clean water, clean energy, responsible consumption and production, climate action, and sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems. These are the certain aspects where the maximum this circular economy concept is contributing directly. In addition to that, if you consider this integrated waste management concept, this is being at least must be implemented in 3 stages: using the resources, reduce the carbon emissions, and recycling it. That's what resources, reduce the carbon emission, and recycling it. So this is the concept which normally it has to be used it. And also there is the time for that linear economy to this is the time to change our time. I can say that we will be looking for changes from linear economy to circular economy. This is the globally that every countries, not only in the Asian countries, so globally all the countries has to look forward for shifting from the linear economy to circular economy. This is the one of the, I cannot say this is the only concept. This is the one of the concepts where it can contribute to shifting to the circular economy. So the future studies all has to be based on that. If it is, I feel it's better that just more inventions or more studies, little more scientific studies needs to be intensified in these areas. So that's why my wish to say that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's interesting. But I think what you also touched on is another part of what we need is the wider stakeholder environment, and I think this is a very good point to go over to Mabo. Maybe could you tell us a little bit about what you think are the key barriers to establish the circular sanitation economy, and from which stakeholders mainly you see those barriers coming? Is it resistance in the communities and the government, and what would be your recommendations to work for to go forward?
This is the one of the things is that where the acceptability by the government.
Sorry, Mr. Manivannan, to interrupt.
Okay.
I was hoping that Mr. Mabo can answer this question.
Sorry, Leandra, you are asking me?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Thank you.
Would you like to take this?
Thank you for asking me that question. Actually, for introducing circular economy in the South Asian country, I can say the knowledge or skill barriers that comes from the government stakeholder as well as the community. At the same time, the practitioner who are implementing or were introducing the circular economy approach is one of the key barrier in our country, as well as the lack of affordable technologies, business model that can be introduced. There is a gap of affordable technology as well as business model for circular economy. That are the key barrier in our region, especially.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think this is going into an interesting direction. Maybe can we hear a bit from Cicely on what she sees happening to families and women in particular, and how climate change is impacting them, and if she sees an opportunity for these type of models to help out.
Okay, thank you very much, fellow panelists and all the presenters for this very interesting discussion that we have had. Talking about families and specifically women, the effects of climate change and the value of or the potential of the circular economy into abating the effects of climate change is really having a very high potential. One, we are taking consideration, the takeoff point is looking at the woman as a key stakeholder in agriculture, knowing that our economy is highly dependent on agriculture production, and women are the highest number or contributors to the agricultural production, both for home and to some extent for commercial agriculture. And in a country that is highly dependent on rain-fed agriculture, and with the current changes in climate change, looking at excessive rains and prolonged droughts that comes with hazards like floods, destroying, for example, infrastructure, impacting on the sanitation of homes and institutions, their roads, the health of the children, and the roles that women have to play in the homes to provide food. So the effects of climate change, we can see them impacting so much on the women. They can no longer access the energy to prepare the foods in the homes, and indirectly or directly affecting the nutrition of the families. The food production reduces because of the floods and its effects, or the prolonged droughts and its effects, the loss of water and the burden of the woman and the girl child to go and look for water, and the different problems that they face, gender-based violence, missed meals for the families, malnutrition, the increased work burden for the women. The list really is endless. So when we look at the circular economy and how it is likely to help out to reduce the effects of climate change on the woman, on the rural woman, on the urban woman, as a producer of food, as someone who takes care of the health in the family, as someone who depends on agriculture for livelihood, it really gives a high potential. We are looking at producing the co-compost as a soil enhancer or condition to improve the productivity of the land. It would really ease the burden of the woman to provide food and to work for long hours. Then we also look at other opportunities to recover, for resource recovery, to address the effects of climate change. You look at the provision of energy. If you look at resource recovery for production of briquettes, it would reduce the burden of the women so highly. And to those who can afford, if they can produce biogas to address the energy needs in the homes, and also to provide the alternative livelihoods. For example, if we improve their food production, if we improve diversify the ability of the women to recycle, for example, plastics in urban areas, and they learn to do like backyard gardening, using plastics to plant food in where land is limited, it would really reduce the burden of women. Then also, when we try to build the capacity of women, for example, we are focusing on building the capacity of women to do home-based composting. It would reduce the amount of garbage that goes to the city dumping site. In a way, it is also improving the health of the ecosystem, but directly reducing the burden of the woman who suffers the diseases, who suffers the burden of taking care of the family when sanitation is compromised during maybe the heavy rains. The list is endless, really. But what challenges are we also looking at as we try to help these women in as far as the circularized economy is concerned? We cannot talk about that and we'll forget to think about how much of our women in the rural areas know about these opportunities. So we might have to spend a lot of money to create awareness. So many women are generating a lot of waste at the household level, but they are suffering effects of climate change. The soils are not productive, yet they would use what they have, starting from their homes, to do something to improve their food production. Second, we are having how much trust these women would have on the product from co-compost, for example. The different beliefs and cultural settings may not really take up easily with the product that we're trying to promote. So we might have to invest a lot into creating awareness and creating a behavioral change and promoting research to prove to these women that it can actually work to help out their problems. Then we are looking at our women working singularly vis-a-vis working as a group. How can we help them to create a critical impact? So we must have to put some efforts to create groups that can work collectively for marketing, for branding, for production, so that they can enjoy the economies of scale. How about the technology that we are talking about? How affordable is it to a rural women, to a woman who does not have land? How is it affordable to them? Are we trying to increase a burden on them and dependence on men to come and run these technologies? We are looking at also the ability to tap into the financing options that are available. How can our women stand and compete for example, the climate funding that is available? So all these are challenges that we may not work and forget to take care of, but otherwise, yes, the circular economy is very important for our country, given the challenges that we are having. We are learning a lot from all presentations that we have had from India and the rest. And yes, to us, it's learning and it's a good sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecily. Interesting to hear that. And I can see there are very straight or direct relationship, women and circular economy, effect, impact, and the like. So we will catch up later, and I would like you to go forward to Mahabu Islam. I just want you to share with us, there's some barrier that can be establish the circular sanitation economy. Which role should be played by stakeholders, communities, government in the future and in the transition phases as we are moving toward the circular economy? What do you say about these governance issues, stakeholders, as we shift from linear to circular economy? Mahabu, please welcome.
The issue, especially the barriers that comes from the government part or the key stakeholder in South Asian region, that, as you know, that the municipality or Gram Panchayat, they are the responsible for implementing sanitation related issue or for implementing 100% sanitation. So the challenge whenever we are introducing circular sanitation economy, the challenge the stakeholder they usually face, that is the traditional mindset of the local authority. That is they think that the toilets or faces, it's a waste material. It doesn't have any values. It can be recycled, or it can't be reused. These are the key challenges usually they face. So usually we need to change that mindset. That is from the traditional mindset is waste is a waste material, so we have to dump it, we have to spread it on the environment, to a recycling practice. That is the key challenge. At the same time, we have to face, we have to address their institutional capacity building for implementing circular sanitation approach in their region or in their cities, as well as we have to review the policy regarding the reuse of waste material or recycled product, especially fertilizer or organic fertilizer that derived from sanitation waste, human waste. We need to review the policy, as well as we need to reform the policy. Maturi, over to you, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I would like to now take the other question, as we are running out of time, to Mr. Meghna. Can you discuss a bit on the role of, I think this has been already discussed here, on the women and on the, but we can go to.
Maturi, if I may interrupt, maybe it helps that we get some questions from the audience. I think
Yes.
Megna will
Let's
be
go to the audience.
happy to answer those. Maybe I think there's some things for Cecile and also for Mahabul, but I will just read all the questions and then the panelists can choose which ones they want to answer. We do have just 5 minutes, so maybe 1 minute per answer. That would be great.
Yeah. Thank you.
So one question is, has there been any community resistance and how was this handled? This question was directly to Mr. Rajkumar, but I think it's something that is cross-cutting from all the projects that we've seen from the discussions with the panel. So that is for everybody. The other question is, how is rainwater harvesting helping? I think you mentioned something about that earlier today. And then what are the first steps to successful upscaling or replicating of the Nilgiris model? Maybe Meghna, you want to start?
I think for the first question was something on the lines of, what are the community resistance? So this is one of the projects that we are doing in Kenya. Metameta has been working on smart centers, which is a simple market-based technology. And, there has been training given to both men and women in terms of building toilet pans and construction of toilets. But while the business of men has been flourishing because, it is a very male-dominated sector, the women who have been trained to sell toilet pans and their business has been, kind of in a stuck somewhere. So because you don't perceive of women to sell toilet pans and, go to somebody's house and fix toilet pans. So they may be, in charge, like that's the perception that they may be in charge of collecting waste toilets. But how do you change this mentality of or making that business viable and sustainable that you can have those people as business models? And that is where this kind of community strengthening came into place, where awareness was made, where this kind of a self-help group was made, so that she could get more loans, because even after having a business, she was not able to get loan from a bank. So I think it's important that these kind of awareness and these kinds of strengthening mechanism is in place when interventions like this are being taken place on ground. I'm just taking 1 minute. That's why.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Would somebody like to comment on the replication? Mahmoud, you were starting?
Replication, yeah. Good.
Thank
I should very well just say something from our experience. We tend to get into this thing of that a model which happens can be replicated, but there are so many factors which influence that model to become successful or unsuccessful, or whatever you can say. So wherever there is a conducive environment of that kind of a model, wherein you have the environmental enabling environment, the support of the various stakeholders, the acceptance by the farmers on the co-compost here, and then the acceptance of even the very sanitation workers to also look at handling fecal sludge, recycled fecal sludge for the co-compost production. All those are real big challenges, and you cannot just say that, okay, this can be replicated. So, and of course, in a country like ours, where there's a lot of the caste and the other stigma attached to the cultural stigma attached to various occupations and things like that. So it is. It all depends on how best we all put our effort, but think positively and move forward, because it has to be done, because we will have to handle this waste as a resource, and we will have to take it forward for the benefit of mankind future, I think. So I'm sure it can be replicated that way. Yeah. So
Great. I think this is the perfect closing remarks. We're unfortunately out of time. I'm sorry we can't continue this, but let's continue this conversation offline or online again, whatever. Please get in touch in case you want to be connected to any of those speakers. Everybody is very happy to converse further, exchange further. And I think there is one last thing that we could show here, which is a graphical representation of this conversation, how we had it 2 days ago. I guess we could dive into it and see if there has been changes, different things discussed this time as the last time. I'll leave that up to everyone. Turi, do you have some closing remarks?
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like everyone to continue engaging with the Finnish Mondial program, which we are is going on, and you can visit our website on www.finishmondial.org. I'm not having time to project it here, but please, you can find our website and you can continue engaging with our programs to refine and to improve. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all the speakers. It was great having you here today. And then wishing you a lovely Friday.
Thanks a lot, and have a lovely weekend, all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the speakers. Let's keep the conversation going.
Thanks to all of you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.